Okay, so we're on 110, or sorry, 111B.10 today, relax your skills. So we kind of touched on this a little bit yesterday about, the things that you check on for every single thing that you do, right? Do you remember what they are? Remember, Nick?
Wait, what did you, one more time, run that back?
Okay, so when you get ready to start anything, right, you're going to analyze certain things on the head. Do you remember? We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Do you remember what it was?
I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
You check for uh, like lice and disorders.
Okay, yeah, that's one thing, right? All the stuff that you look for on the head. But when we're analyzing the hair, and pretty soon you guys probably already do this, but you just don't even realize that you're doing it because it just becomes second nature after a while. But we're looking for, the porosity, the density, the texture. We're looking for like the lice and the cuts and the abrasions and the disorders, right? We're going to look on all of this stuff because once we analyze this, we're going to know like what products are going to work, the best for somebody's hair, or maybe even how much product we'll need to get at one time for someone, things like that. So that's the reason why we do this. Also just to make sure that, their hair is going to be in the condition to accept the service, because, what if it's not? What if it's not? So let me pull this up. Where are we? Share my screen. And here we go. There we go. Good morning, Junior. So.
Buenos días.
Oh, I forgot to say hola. Dang it. Okay. So here we go. Relaxer skills, right? This is what's going to give you the skills that you need to perform a relaxer, and speed. Speed's a big thing when it comes to this because these chemicals work fast. All right, so we're going to do a pre-relaxer analysis on someone's hair, right? This is going to give us predictive results. So the analysis of porosity, elasticity, texture, and density. It's going to help us determine what type of relaxer service to actually give the client and the type of product to use and the required amount of time for combing and smoothing. Okay, so we'll touch on these because these are kind of important. And when you do any chemical services, this is really everything that you have to look at, no matter what you're doing. Color, relaxer, texture, perm, whatever. This is all, we have to look at this stuff. So when we talk about porosity, right, the ability of the hair to absorb, your hair is like a sponge. It's going to suck up moisture, liquids, chemicals, that type of thing. So these pictures, these are like magnified a lot, but this is the cuticle layer of your hair, the outermost layer of the hair. So the one that says extreme porosity, this cuticle layer is like damaged or missing. Okay, that means that thing is going to soak up one little drop of liquid is going to be like half the head's going to be wet from a little drop because it's extreme. The one on the left is the one on the right is resistant. This means that cuticle layer is super compact. It's like super closed, super tight. It's not going to open. It's not going to allow moisture to penetrate into that hair. Have you ever seen someone's hair that like gets wet, but it doesn't look like it's wet? Like you shampoo and everything, but it doesn't look wet. That they have resistant porosity for sure. So to have hair that is, normal porosity, it's somewhere in between those two. Like the resistant one is open just a little bit more, kind of like fish scales almost. That's what it always reminded me of. The picture always reminded me of fish scales for normal hair or normal porosity in the hair. So if your hair is porous, right, you want to choose the product that's labeled for mild. If your hair is resistant, of course, you want super or strong strength because, you want it to work. And then if it's normal, you get, regular. So how do you test someone's porosity? Well, you can do a finger test for porosity. You run your thumb and finger along the strand of the hair against the grain. Okay, if it feels rough, the cuticles are slightly raised and open. So you just grab a little piece of hair like this and you run it back and forth. How does it feel? Rough? Kind of. I have extreme porosity. I already know this. So the rougher it feels, the more raised and open it is, which means that you have more porosity than not. Now I know my hair is like super porous because another way that I kind of judge this is like it's raining outside, right? And you how like the water drops to drop off the buildings. And you always look when you're running out to the car, right? And you always try to time it where you're not going to get that water drop on your head, but it always happens. You always get a drop on your head. So what happens when that water hits your head? Does it just kind of roll off and your hair doesn't even get wet? Pretty much you're going to have resistant porosity. Does it get wet just in that spot where the water hit it, just that one spot? Then that's pretty normal. Or if that drop hits your head and you've got like, half your head or that whole section of your head wet, then you probably have extreme porosity. Okay. And if you have color treated hair, your hair is always, or if you have previously chemically treated hair, that hair that has color or is more chemically treated is always going to be just a little bit more porous than the person who has virgin hair. Okay, so now we're going to check for so what does the porosity do? Porosity tells you how much it's going to suck up the product. So if you have extreme porosity, your hair is going to take really, really fast. Okay, so which means your application has to be a lot faster. If you have resistant porosity, your hair is going to take at a really, really slow pace. So that's what porosity has to do with chemicals. Okay, now if we have elasticity. Elasticity is like the strength of your hair. This is the hair's ability to stretch and return without breaking. It's also known as a pull test. I know that's a test question. Elasticity test is also known as what? And pull test is the answer to that. Okay, so this is what gives your hair the strength to take the chemicals. A lot of times when people are trying to do, I'm gonna use hair color for an example here. Someone's trying to, bleach their hair out blonde. The elasticity in the hair is gonna give out before the hair gets to the color that you want it to be. So it's gonna be like rubber bandish. It's gonna stretch back and forth like a rubber band. Okay, you don't want hair to do that. You do not want hair to stretch like a rubber band. That means that elasticity has been compromised. So it is the ability to stretch and return without breaking. It should stretch at about 40%. It's going to stretch more when it's wet. Okay, but it should be, flex back and forth as it's gently pulled. Okay, usually can tolerate these stronger chemicals. If it's poor, it's going to break. Like you can just grab it and pull it like that and it doesn't spring, it completely breaks. If it springs like a rubber band, yeah, that's not good either. Okay, so how do you do the test? Does it tell us? No, it doesn't. So what you're going to want to do is grab a piece of the hair and like curl it like a ribbon. So let me see if I can get a piece of hair out here. Okay, grab a piece of hair. Oh, I think I pulled more than one. Use your fingernail here and you want to curl it like a ribbon. It doesn't even curl. Yeah. Okay. It's not even curling. It's just getting like this little wave to it. I don't know if you can see it because it's really light, but I'm not even getting like a curl out of it. A little bit of like a bend or a wave to it. But as you can see, if it curls up, it's good. If it doesn't, it's bad. Well, mine didn't even curl at all. So I guess it's pretty bad. Okay. So texture, the diameter of the hair strand. Oh, I don't like you guys this way. Let me turn you back. There we go. The diameter of the hair strand. Fine is going to be smaller, medium is going to be normal, and coarse is going to be really big, around in diameter. I've seen people that their hair is so coarse, like one hair strand, it's almost like dental floss. It's so big around, so coarse. But again, it could be different on different parts of the hair. And what does this mean when it comes to the product? Well, coarse hair usually is going to take more product than fine hair. Now, fine hair, you're going to have a lot more hair than you are coarse hair, and you're going to have to take smaller sections, and you're going to have to, it just seems like the person has hair forever, and you'll have to use, sometimes you do use more product depending on how dense their hair is, but we are going to go with the texture here, and just goes along with how much you're going to put on there. And then we're going to identify the pattern. What do they have? What do they want? Okay, so we got wavy, curly, and tightly curled. And then we have straight. Okay, so big wavy, big curls, small curls, what's their natural curl, right? Tightly curled, wavy, straight. What's their existing pattern? What's their desired pattern? And that's going to have to be a consultation, is what you're going to find out. But those are the patterns that usually get these types of services done. I mean, people that have straight hair don't get relaxers. So these are the type of hair, wavy, curly, or tightly hair that gets relaxers done. So when we are relaxing hair, we are going to go to what? You guys remember the percentage? It's right there, 85%, right? That's what we're going to go to have optimum relaxation. Okay, anything more than that is not recommended because it could damage the hair. So this is just sort of an example from not relaxed to the 85%. Even at the 50%, I mean, it's a lot looser than not relaxed. But if you go more than your 85%, then they're saying that it's damaged hair. Okay. So part of our consultation, what do you want, right? Do you want your 25, your 50, your 75, your 85, but you cannot do 100 with a basic relaxer service. Now there is other advanced techniques that you can get 100% straight, but for a basic relaxer service, it's 85%. Okay, so when we talk about this, here is an example of, do you want to do a diffusion or do you want to do a relaxer? Okay, diffusion, a texturizer. These are just the ones that are going to remove about 50% of the hair. What it's doing is using a ammonium thioglycolate product so that you can comb through it and diffuse that. So you can comb through it. It makes it a little bit easier. We're relaxing, of course, there it is. That's been blow dried out and curled. And that's usually done with the sodium hydroxide product. Now you can do an ammonium thioglycolate product on that also, depending on the hair. But with the curl diffusion, most times you're going to use the ammonium thioglycolate. Okay, so we're going to go to density, right? Density refers to the number of hairs or hair follicles per square inch. Can be classified as light, medium, or heavy. How much scalp do you see? If you see a lot of scalp, it's light. If you hardly see any scalp, it's heavy. And then you've got it in between. And clients always crack me up. I don't have very much hair, or they'll say like, oh, I have so much hair, and they really don't. So they're kind of funny. So when you get ready to apply your relaxer, okay, this is going to help you organize what you're doing, keep control of the hair, just get more predictable results, just get a better result all the way around. So here's your procedures. You section, you apply, you smooth or comb, you test, and you neutralize. Okay, it's only 5, not so many. So why do we section hair? Section for control. Notice in this example, her hair is really, really short, but they did happen to divide it. Now the top half, the middle picture, the top half of her hair has protective cream on it, just in case you go to like overlap the actual relaxer product, or if it gets on the other portion of the hair. So that's protective cream protecting the rest of the hair. That's not a relaxer up there, but it's just isolating those certain areas in this zonal or this partial relaxer. And you're isolating the areas that you only want to put the relaxer product on by putting protective cream on the other areas. Okay, and then that's what you get on the end product, on the end picture there. Okay, so now after you section, you want to use a base cream. protective cream, base cream, barrier cream. All right. This is, notice it's a petroleum-based product. What this is protecting the skin around the hairline, right? This product is gonna kind of burn a little bit. Notice in the middle picture, they're going in between each one of the partings that they're going to apply the relaxer to. What is that doing? That's protecting the scalp. That's putting that barrier between that product and the skin just to help protect it, because it's chemical, right? It can burn. Now, yeah, it does take a little bit longer to do this. So when you're doing it, you have to be careful not to touch the hair as little as possible, because wherever you put this product on and it gets on the hair, once you go to put the relaxer product on top of it, the relaxer product's not going to take, because it's, you know, like touching the hair. So it's protective, right? So it's protecting that scalp. The main ingredient in this is petroleum. It's like a Vaseline. Your body heat will liquefy the base, providing a light, oily film that protects the scalp from irritation during all of these chemical processes. You can use a horizontal pattern, you can use a vertical pattern when you're parting, but you do like a dabbing motion. You don't want to rub it too much, because that could actually sensitize the scalp a little bit. So we just kind of want to dab that on with our finger, just a little bit. Now, most of the time, this is done with the sodium hydroxide relaxer. If you're using that particular product, it's applied to dry hair. So once you section, you apply the base cream or the protective cream or the barrier cream, and you put that on the scalp and the hair. So yeah, it does take a little bit of time, right? This thing takes what, a couple to a few hours to actually do one of these. Okay, so you better be getting your hundreds of dollars while you're doing it. So main ingredient in this is petroleum. Then we're going to actually go and apply our product. Primary method of application is with a brush. Okay, sometimes depending on the density of the hair, the texture of the hair, and the porosity of the hair, you may need to apply the product to the top and the bottom of each subsection. Each one of these subsections is probably going to be about 1/4 of an inch, so it's pretty thin. The thinner the subparting, the easier it is for that product to like seep through to the other side, so that way you get more of a consistent application, and you get more of an even application doing it like that. So you want to apply it evenly. You don't want to miss any areas, because if you miss the areas or you don't apply it evenly, then it's not going to take evenly. So we want to make sure that we're real thorough in our application. We want to prevent any uneven patterns. We want to prevent any bumps, any ridges, anything like that while we're applying it. Different application technique that you're doing, whether it's a retouch, a zonal, a virgin, or a curl diffusion, you may be applying it just slightly different. Because like here's a curl diffusion. Now, when you start with these applications, you usually want to start in the area where the hair is the curliest. So usually that is the back of the head. Now, there might be a case where the client has the curliest hair in the front, because, you know, that can happen, but it's usually in the back of the head. So you're going to start in the back. Notice they're using the comb to separate those parts, because you can't really get your fingers in there. You can't part it and hold it with your fingers. So they're using the comb to separate the parts there. They're applying the product to the surface of the hair with the brush. And then of course they're using the tail comb to help with the partings. Okay. Then we're doing a virgin application. So notice that it's applied away from the scalp. Does anyone remember why we apply this away from the scalp?
The top is processed faster.
It does process faster. Why does it process faster at the scalp? Do you remember? Come on, Junior. You know.
Well, because the heat goes to the apex.
Well, not only to the apex, but to the whole head, yes. Because the heat coming off of the head will cause those areas to process faster. A lot of times the heat has like a drawing pattern, so it kind of like draws that product towards the scalp also. So by applying it 1/2 inch to 1/4 of an inch away from the hair or away from the scalp and up to the porosity, which is your mid strand, right? What that's doing is that's the area that's like the cold zone. So it's allowing that to process first because that's going to process the slowest. The ends, because they're porous, right? So they're going to absorb more. They're going to process faster, and the heat from the scalp is going to cause that to process faster also. So we are applying it to that mid strand first. Now, if you're doing the whole head, you're applying it, you know, she's applying it to the top of the strand and the bottom of the strand on this particular hair here, and then she's laying it up to over the top. When you get to the very bottom, you're going to want to pull all that back down. Move to the next section. Same application. Then move to the fronts on the top and do the same application. Once you're finished with that, you're going to go back to that first section that you've started on, and you're going to just subpart it again and apply it to the scalp. Do the same thing, lay it over. Go through the whole section, applying it to the scalp, pull that down, go to the next section and repeat, and just follow the sections that you did in the first application when you applied it off the scalp. Okay, then you're gonna, after you finish applying it to the scalp, then you're gonna go back to where you started and you're gonna start your smoothing technique. Okay, so that is your application. So when you get ready to do the combing and the smoothing, oh wait, we're not there yet. Retouch, new growth only, sorry. And then the partial, when you're doing your retouch too, try not to overlap into the areas that were previously relaxed because it could cause some breakage, but it is going to be just the new growth only. And then the zonal or the partial we talked about, which are just those selected areas. Okay, so then we're going to go our combing or smoothing. Okay, if you are using a sodium hydroxide based product or sodium based product or hydroxide based product, no combing. Okay, it's the hair, it's really strong. You could damage the hair, especially if the hair is kind of long. So you'll be using the back of the comb, like the spine of the comb, to do the smoothing, or your fingers. It's really important that you use even tension on each strand of hair that you're smoothing, just because you want it to come out even, right? So we want to use even tension. We want to keep the hair as smooth as possible. Like we don't want to bunch it up or bump it up or get it tangled up or any of that. So it's really important that we try to keep control of that hair and keep it as smooth as possible. If we're using the thio-based product, you can comb through it like in the curl diffusion. Notice they have a very big, large tooth comb, and they're just combing through the natural pattern. So curl diffusion is going to reduce that natural pattern up to about 50%. So we want to make sure that, you know, we know our product and we know which exact technique that we're using. Okay, so several manufacturers, they've created more advanced straightening and relaxing systems. So you'll want to know all the products that are out there. You want to know, or you'll want to research various hair straightening and relaxer products and systems. You know, they're a little bit more advanced. So once you have some of that experience, you could be able to be, you know, educated in all that. Okay, so when you first start the application, you should start your timing. Okay, say, oh yeah, it took me this long, took me that long. You know, we need to time according to manufacturer's directions. And during that timing, we do want to perform tests, strand tests, relaxation tests, as they're called, to judge on how much time we may have left so that we don't overprocess that hair, right? Nobody wants overprocessed hair. So this is a general guide. This is how most manufacturers work. There could be some that have a little bit of a difference to them, but on most of these manufacturers, if you're using a thio-based relaxer, which is your ammonium thioglycolate, your mild solution is 15 minutes max. So that's from when you start applying it to that hair. That means you need to move fast on your application. Regular is 20 and super is 25 minutes. It is a little bit slower time on the super than it is for the sodium hydroxide relaxers, because like at 15, 20, and 20, right? So porosity and texture are going to be the main factors on how long those take. But you have to remember that it's 20 minutes. I mean, sometimes it takes someone 20 minutes just to get, the hair sectioned. So you're gonna have to move on this. This timing's only a guide. Some people might take longer. Some people might not take as long. This is just something to go by. But it's not like you can't put it on the hair and be like, okay, so you've got 15 minutes and that's it, because that may not work that way. So this is just a guide for you to go by. I would say do your test strands, after every 5 minutes or something like that. So when you're doing your test strands, what you want to do on a virgin or a chemical relaxer is use the back of the tail comb to clear the product from the hair. Press it, like press in like indentation into that hair with the back of the comb, and wait to see how long it takes to pop out. If it stays, you better get it off the head, because if it doesn't start to pop out at all, it's probably over processed. If it pops out real fast, then you need more processing time, so you apply more product and smooth that back out. If it takes a couple seconds to pop back out, then it's probably pretty good about that time. So that's how you would judge on that. And then with the curl diffusion, you just look at the curl, you just put it over your finger and look at it and see what you think. It may need more smoothing. You may be done with it. I mean, you're just going to have to wait to see what the optimum relaxation is when you're done with your application. When you're finished with all of that, we're going to rinse and block. So rinsing, right? What is it doing? We're stopping the action of the chemical by rinsing it with water. You want to rinse the hair a little bit longer than what you would think. Okay, so when you're standing there at the shampoo bowl and you're rinsing someone's hair for 5 minutes, it feels like a really long time. It's not, but it feels like it. While you're just waiting, 5 minutes takes a long time. But depending on the length of the hair, you may need to rinse longer than 5 minutes. You always want to check behind the ears and the nape area, which the nape area is the hardest to rinse off too, but you don't want to leave any traces of those chemicals there, because it can cause the hair to damage or break or the skin to burn. And it is a chemical burn. If the client gets burned from any of these chemicals, it's a chemical burn. So, I mean, yeah, they don't feel good. Sure, it's a burn. Right. So after we remove all of those chemicals from rinsing it as much as we can, and use the force of the water directed away from the client's face, and let that chemical, rinse down the drain. You don't want to manipulate the hair or move it around too much, because these bonds are broken now. So we don't want to cause any more damage to the hair by vigorously shampooing it or moving it around. But if we're using the sodium-based product, we're going to be using a neutralizing shampoo. If we're using a thio-based product, we're going to be using a neutralizing solution. Either way, whatever you're doing, whichever one you're using, you still have to treat the hair the same. So we want to make sure that we've rinsed and rinsed and rinsed and then rinsed some more until we have it all out. With our neutralizing shampoo, follow the directions. The neutralizer causes oxidation, which restores those broken bonds. Always be guided by your manufacturer's directions. Some manufacturers in the sodium are going to tell you to shampoo that hair, 3 times if necessary, and they might tell you to leave it on for 3 minutes. With the ammonium thioglycolate neutralizer, it's the product. So most of them are about 5 minutes, but you'll have to just follow the directions. Okay, sodium hydroxide neutralizing shampoo has a pH of more of a 4.5 to a 5.5, which is what your hair is. So that's the whole idea, is to bring your hair back down, because the relaxers are high in pH. So the whole idea is to bring your hair's pH back down to the normal pH of hair. So that swelling is going to reduce and the hair is going to feel like good condition and feel like hair. So sometimes after you do a relaxer and you've brought that pH back down, you may need to do a conditioning treatment just to kind of lock some of that moisture into it. But again, look at the manufacturer's directions and find out what they recommend and the family of products that go along with it. What do they recommend with those products also for aftercare? Because there are, a lot of products out there that you can use. So, neutralize, right? Restores the broken disulfide bonds. They're usually acid on the pH scale. And for sodium hydroxide, use a shampoo. For ammonium thioglycolate, you use a solution. Okay. So once these are locked in, or they reharden them back and they're locked in, and remember, stabilizer, neutralizer, or fixative kind of all mean the same thing. Okay, so once you've fixed the hair back into this, or neutralized it, or stabilized it back to those bonds back into place, it usually takes, like 48 hours or so for it to like thoroughly lock in. So a lot of times, especially with the ammonium thioglycolate, it's recommended not to shampoo the hair for 48 to 72 hours after the service is done. With the sodium hydroxide, it's about the same, but I mean, someone's getting their hair done, right? They're getting their hair done. So they're probably not going to wash it for a couple days. If not, we just want to make sure that we reiterate that to the client, like don't shampoo your hair for a couple of days. Same thing if they're getting a perm, and it's ammonium thioglycolate or the glycerol monothioglycolate product, we do not want to shampoo the hair for about 48 hours, 48 to 72 hours, depending on what the manufacturer says. So again, just to kind of go over the decisions that you're going to be doing when you're doing a consultation for this, is you're going to look at the existing texture. You're going to figure out what the desired texture is. So what do they have? What do they want? You're going to analyze that hair for texture, density, porosity. Texture, density, porosity. Yeah, there we go. Cut abrasions, disorders. Analyze the scalp and the hair. You're going to look at the service to make sure that we're doing the right service for their hair. Which is it going to be? Is it going to be a virgin relaxer? Is it going to be a curl diffusion? Is it going to be a partial relaxer? Then we're going to choose the right product and the right formula for their hair. And then we're going to actually do the service. So that's your consultation. That's what you have to go through to decide what you're going to be doing on that client's hair. Okay. So, true or false? Porosity refers to the ability of the hair to absorb liquids, solids, or gases. Is that a true supposed to be junior like this? Does that mean true? Well, think about that. To absorb liquids, okay. Solids or gases?
I was putting F, say it like that.
Oh,
Like
I don't know your sign language.
that.
The more porous hair, the faster the hair will accept the product. That's this way. Okay. Elasticity is the hair's ability to stretch and return to its original shape without the diameter of an individual hair strand in an aspect of the hair is an aspect of the hair. Huh? The diameter of the individual hair strand is an aspect of the hair. Sounds like a statement, not a question, huh? The four major texture patterns are wavy, curly, tightly curled, and wavy, curly, tightly curled, and straight. Usually classified as either light, medium, or heavy. The number of hair follicles per square inch is called. Before applying the chemical relaxer service, protect the skin around the hairline and ears with a redistributing the relaxer on the hair strand to help break the bonds and elongate or stretch the curl pattern into a new straighter position is achieved by, that one could be tricky if you don't think about it. The relaxation test is also known as, and a neutralizing shampoo is used to reharden the hair into its new straighter shape with which type of relaxer? Dun, dun, dun. Okay. So we got false, true, breaking, texture, straight. Okay, what's that? The diameter of an individual hair strand is an aspect of the hair texture. Oh, that one was super tricky. Okay, density, base cream, combing or smoothing, sodium hydroxide. Okay. Okay, all right. So let's go to 111B.11, which is the guest experience for a relaxer here. So let's think about customer service on this one. Ever known anyone who possessed a great skill, but like dropped the ball or failed when it came to everything else in the service, like maybe keeping you dry? That's a big pet peeve of mine, to have a wet towel around my neck. Ugh, it feels so gross. All right, here's our relaxer service for the client. Sometimes little things like this, I know for me, maybe, I don't know about you guys, but if I'm going someplace and, I might get good food, but I get like really poor service, am I going to want to go back there all the time? It's a combination of all of it together. So some of the things that we need to know about are service records, right? Client record cards. This lets you track dates, how often people get them done, helps produce for products use, helps with results. It also can help you know if you want to like promote certain services. If you have these records done, then you can promote these certain services with that. Like maybe you want to do more relaxers, you can do like a little promotion out there. What do I see on Facebook? Hey, I got openings today. Hit me up if you want your hair done. I see those all the time from people that I know. Someone just trying to get some business out there. Okay. If you have a client release form or a statement, it will help you avoid retribution, but it is not a legal document, so it is not going to hold up in courts. Just to let you know, but they might be a deterrent. Okay. So what are some of the questions that you're going to ask your client? Actually, what should be on a client record card? Let's go back to that. Anyone know what might be on a client record card? What you should have on there?
Or info.
Yeah, like a way to contact them. So the date, what products you've used, processing time, any results or any notes that you might want to write to yourself, like, next time leave it a little bit longer, or, cut hair a little bit shorter, ends were too dry, something like that after the fact. I think they both need batteries. Okay. Talk about the type of hair, how long is it? How short is it? How long has it been since the client came in? Do they take any medications? Because sometimes the medications can hinder the hair from taking, especially if it's like, a strong medication, say maybe for organ transplants, they have to take, a lot of medication if someone's having an organ transplant. So some of those may interfere with some of the chemicals that you're using. So make sure that, you get a consultation done on that. I know some particular services, like in the facial department, if someone has like braces or a pacemaker, some of the electrical ones may not be used on them. So it is important on that client record card. But I always put the price down too, because, oh, I didn't pay that much last time, did I? Yeah, well, you did. So we want to make sure. Okay. So during our consultation, Ask your client questions, right? How do you style your hair daily? How would you like to style your hair? Because how we'd like to style our hair and how our hair really styles could be two totally different things, right? How much texture do you want to have reduced? Have you ever had a chemical service before? Do you know when? Do you know what was used? They don't need to know where they went. But we want to be professional about it. So ask them about if they had any bad chemical services before. Do you have any thoughts on it? Misconceptions. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about stuff, especially when it comes to their hair. Oh my gosh, I've heard all these crazy things like if you cut your hair on a full moon, it's going to grow faster. If you cut your hair according to the farmer's almanac, when you plant row crops, your hair's supposed to grow faster. I mean, it's just like all these superstitions, I guess, or beliefs that people have that misconceptions, I guess that's a good word. So make sure that you clear any of those up for the client. Okay. So connect. Now, in this day and age, we can't shake hands, but we can elbow or do a virtual or far away shake or something that we can do. But you want to build that rapport with the client. You want to make them feel a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes just eye contact and you can head nod them. Hey, you ready? Come get your hair done. Goes a long way. Okay, consult. This is where we're going to ask these questions. You could have them sign a release form, but make sure that you document everything. You can keep it in your phone if you want to. Now they've got like cool things, apps for your phone. You can put it on your tablet, computer, whatever, but they have them. I know that when we could get our nails done in that break between when COVID first started and when we could go in, they had iPads there, and there was a questionnaire about, have you been out of the country? Have you came into contact with anyone? Do you have any symptoms? And then they had to sign it, as saying that was all true to your knowledge, so that I don't know, it's just like a protection, and plus they kept all your information there. So after you do your consultation and you've gotten it already, you want to create it. So you want to be able to do what you said you were going to do. And you can talk to the client and say like, oh yeah, now this is what I'm going to do. Oh, this is what I'm doing now. Or you can not talk, or you can talk about different stuff. It's all up to you. Okay. So when you're finished, you want to complete the service. So, ask them for any questions, concerns, or comments. Let them know that if they have any questions, concerns, and comments, that they can always reach out to you and you'll be happy to answer them. Ask them if they want to purchase any products, or if they know what products to go purchase when you're done. Recommend it. Tell them thanks for coming in, take their money, walk them to the desk. You don't have to walk them to their car or anything, but think about when someone comes to your house, you just sit on the couch and go like, hey, get out of here, bye. Or do you, at least walk to the front door with them or something? So those are the kind of things that we need to think about when we complete. And then once they leave, it's all about you now, cleaning up, infection control, and safety. Right? So we want to make sure that we clean. Wipes now are becoming a big thing. We just got a thing from State Board saying that in July, I think it is, July, in the testing facility, they're not allowing sprays. Everything has to be in a wipe, a wipe, like a Clorox wipe or something. So wipe down, cords, hair dryers, whatever you use, cords, clippers itself. We want to make, not only do we clean the blades on our clippers, but we do have to clean the body of the clipper too. So we want to make sure that we have all of these disinfectants that we use to get rid of it. Okay. So if you're using a sodium hydroxide relaxer, this is some things that if a client calls in and says, hey, I want to get a relaxer, that you tell them, make sure that your hair is not shampooed for at least 48 hours before the service. I would say more than 48 hours, actually. I would think like a week, probably 5 days at least. So don't shampoo your hair before that. Don't use it on hair that's been treated with IO relaxer. You can use cotton around the hairline. You can make sure that you base cream for sure. Always have to base cream. Okay. We want to make sure that we drape properly for these chemical services. Double drape, towel underneath, drape, towel on top. Just protect your clothing. Do your scalp analysis. This is where you're looking for those cuts, abrasions, disorders, sores, lice, bugs, anything, any type of scalp condition. If necessary, you're going to want to do a preliminary strand test. You're going to see how that hair is going to react before you actually do the service. If someone has hair color on their hair, you may need to do a test for metallic salts. Metallic salts, if that's the type of hair color that's been used, it can give you an uneven texture. It can give you some weird, distinct colorations like calico cat looking. It can damage your hair. It can give your hair breakage. So this 120 test, it's 20 drops of ammonia to, I think it's a cup of water. You place the hair in it. Can't remember how much water, but I think it's a cup. And then you place the hair in it, and I'll have the answer for you tomorrow. But you place the hair in that and see how it reacts. See if it's in the book right here. I'll have the answer for that tomorrow for sure. Yeah, I'll have to go back and look it up. It's not right here for me to see right away, but I'll remember. I'll have it for you. So that's for the client, but you also want to make sure that your shampoo bowl, your tint bowl, your applicator brush, your metal combs, your shampoo comb, sectioning clips, all of that stuff can be disinfected or washed. So we want to make sure that they're stored in a dry clean covered cabinet at all times. Okay. Make sure that you're sanitizing your hands, your station, all of that, client care, barbershop care, all this stuff is put up. So wash your hands, wear your gloves, wear your protective apron, make sure that all your tools are clean and put away and stored correctly. Check the client, make sure they're good. Base cream, protective cream, watch the eyes. Oh yeah, ask about scalp sensitivity. You know, some people are, they're like sensitive to everything. Other ones aren't. So make sure that you do ask those questions. So make sure your chairs are wiped down. Discard leftover products. Make sure that your shampoo bowls are cleaned out. The floors, nothing on the floors are swept. Once the service is over and you have any leftover product in the bowl, how do you discard that? Well, you're going to want to take a paper towel and wipe the bowl out with the product and place that into the trash. Then you can wash the bowl with soap and water and dry it and put it in your disinfectant. A client release statement is a legal document. Is that true or false?
What's that? It's false.
It is false, yeah. One way to connect to a client is to meet and greet the client with a firm handshake and a pleasant tone of
False.
voice.
You have to do
That would
6
be
feet
true.
away.
Yeah, you're supposed to
It's
just cuss
false
them out, tell them
now.
they ain't nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, now that's a false statement, but prior to, it's a true statement. Yeah. I mean, you can use a pleasant tone of voice, right? You can make eye contact. But yeah, handshake, not so much. Ask questions to discover the client's wants, and that would be needs. What do they need? Because a lot of times what the client wants and what the client needs, they're not the same thing. Okay. Before proceeding with the service, gain feedback from your client and obtain. Okay. Throughout the service, ensure client comfort. Cleaning methods remove dirt, debris, and potential pathogens and aid slowing the growth of
Bacteria.
Yeah, bacteria, viruses, funguses, it could be all of that, right? Harmful germs, pathogens, one could fill in all of that. When applying chemical solutions, wear
Gloves.
Lightly shampoo the client's hair prior to applying a relaxer formulated with. Do you remember which one we shampoo first with?
Neutralizer? No?
Well, we're going to, that's going to be the ammonium thioglycolate one. Never apply chemicals over any abnormal scalp disorder, cuts, abrasions. Store disinfected tools and multi-use supplies in a container or a cabinet that is
Puncture proof? Not puncture proof. That's I'm thinking about a razor. I don't know.
clean, disinfected, sanitized.
Yeah.
These ones are tricky little questions. Okay, let's see. False, true, needs, consent. There you go. Comfort. Pathogens, okay. Gloves, ammonium thioglycolate. Condition. Clean, dry, and covered. Oh, should have known that. That's like everything, huh? Have that one. That's like everything for board. Make sure it's clean, dry. And covered. Oh, shit. Okay, so let's see. We just have just the review on these things and to go over them. So that one's pretty much done. So what we're gonna do tomorrow is we're gonna have that manicure test when you come in. So I'll give you something to study up on tonight. Go back over your book and all that, and then we're gonna work on the relaxer portion of this for the different types of relaxers, and then the one that you got to do at stay board, because you do have to do one of these at stay board. So that's what we're going to work on this week. So you guys have a good day and see you later.
All right.
Ruben, what's your dog's name?
Huh?
What's your dog's name?
Talk to you about what?
Huh?
What? What are you talking about?
Your dog. What's your dog's name?
Oh, his name is